Welcome to the latest video in this series on jazz theory. This time, we'll be looking at major key harmony. Most of the music we'll be looking at in the first part of this course will be diatonic, i.e. relates to a key. To understand how this works with jazz harmony, we'll be looking at common devices used in jazz tunes, so we can both identify them and then apply them. In this video, we're going to be looking at scales, or modes, and chords, and how they relate to each other. There's a symbiotic relationship between scales, which we also call modes, and chords, which is fundamental to being able to work with jazz or any diatonic harmony. Chords are the same as scales. Scales are the same as chords. Both create harmony. Each chord will have a scale that it draws its notes or its arpeggio from, and each scale will have its own chord that can be constructed from its notes. In diatonic harmony, all chords have a function. The chord quality will determine its function within a set of chords. In the most simple terms, a dominant chord is always a 5/7 chord. This is its quality. A dominant chord will often resolve to the root. This is its function. Let's have a look at an example. Here we have G7 resolving to C major 7. G7 is a dominant chord. This is its quality. Any chord with a 7 is a dominant chord, e.g. X7. You can find out more about this in the video entitled The Basics. G7 is a 5/7 chord, and G7 will resolve, or often resolve, to its root, in this case C major 7. This is its function. Modes are the scales that are made from starting on different degrees of the major scale. As the major scale has 7 notes, you can construct 7 distinct modes from it. For instance, if you start a major scale on the second note, which we call the second degree, and ascend until you get to the note you've started on, you will have created a Dorian mode. This works for every degree of the scale. You can start on any degree of the scale and find a mode. Here we have the second degree, which we just looked at, of C major, or the major scale. In fact, the second degree of any major scale is a Dorian mode. The Dorian mode has its own distinct sound, and its own distinct relationship between semitones and tones. If we were to start on the third degree, we'd find the Phrygian mode. The third degree of any major scale, C major, D major, F major, the third degree of any major scale is a Phrygian mode. And so on and so forth. Here's the fourth degree. At the fourth degree of the scale, we find the Lydian mode. Here are the full lists of modes. This is the modes of the major scale, and this example uses C major as the parent scale. You have the Ionian mode, which is also known as the major scale. The Dorian mode, which is found at the second degree of the major scale. And the Phrygian mode. The Lydian mode at the fourth degree. The Mixolydian mode. The Aeolian mode, which is also known as the natural minor. And lastly, the Locrian mode, which is the 7th degree of the major scale. Modes can take place in any of the keys. What's important to remember is that the parent scale is the major scale. So for example, we'll look at the whole thing again, but using D major as the parent scale. So the first degree of D major is the Ionian mode, which is also known as the major scale. And the second degree is the Dorian mode, which is the same as obviously any second degree of a major scale. Now, something to bear in mind, the mode is always named after the note it starts on. In this case, it's E, even though E, Dorian, is constructed from D major. So remember, the mode is called E Dorian, but its parent scale is D major. This is because E is the second note or the second degree of D, as in it's the second of something. Let's have a look at this and how we can construct chords to play with the appropriate modes. So let's take a mode or a scale. Here, for instance, is C Ionian or C major. Chords are constructed by taking a 4-note chord by stacking the notes in diatonic thirds, as you can see with the ones that are indicated in blue here. Diatonic third, diatonic third, diatonic third. In their most basic form, they just have the root, the third, the fifth, or the seventh. You then analyze those and work out the chord's quality. So in this mode, C Ionian or C major, the root is obviously C. There's a major third, there's a fifth or a perfect fifth, and there's a major 7, which gives you C major 7. If you're unsure about how these chords work or how the nomenclature works, then please watch the video on the basics. C major 7 is indicated by the chord symbol. That's its quality. Let's look at another one. Here's D Dorian, which is found at the second degree of C major. You create a 4-note chord by stacking the notes in diatonic thirds. And by analysing the relationship of the intervals to the root, you can write the chord. Here we have root, minor third, fifth, flattened 7th, which gives us a D minor 7. The quality of the chord is a minor 7. Each mode or degree of the scale has its own chord. It has its own chord construction. As you can see, these chords have been constructed from the parent scale of C major. Underneath them, it gives you the chord quality. So in a major scale, the 1, which in this case is C major because that's the root key we're in, is a major 7. The 2 is a 2 minor 7, which in this case is D minor 7. The 3 is a minor 7. The 4 is a major 7. The 5 is a dominant 7. The 6 is a minor 7. And the 7th is a half diminished or Locrian. Minor 7 flat 5. This will occur in any key of the major scale. You will still get the same qualities on each chord degree. Let's look at a list of the modes with each of their chords next to them. Here we have Ionian mode, and this is all from C major as the parent scale, with C major 7 next to it. Dorian mode in D with D minor 7, E Phrygian mode with E minor 7, F Lydian mode with F major 7, G Mixolydian mode with G7, A Aeolian mode with A minor 7 next to it, and lastly B Locrian with B minor 7 flat 5. All these chords and modes are diatonic to C major, which is the parent scale. So using this, we can then see how all the modes would sound if they started on C. Remember that these all come from different parent scales, because each of them are the second or third or fourth degree of something. So we know that the Ionian mode is the first degree of the major scale. So that means that C Ionian mode comes from C major. And it therefore has C major 7 as its chord. C Dorian is the second degree of something. Therefore it must come from B flat major, because C is the second note of B flat major. So C Dorian sounds like this. As you can hear, it's a minor, so therefore it has a minor 7. And you'll see all the way down each different mode, they take on a different sound. They all are in C, but they have different parent scales because they start on different degrees of the scale. Here is a handy chart and another way of looking at the modes. To the left of each mode, there's a Roman numeral, which gives you an idea of the scale degree it's from, and whether it's major or minor. In the middle, the name of the mode. And on the right hand side is the chord quality that represents the mode. As you can see, each mode has a different chord quality, and each scale degree has a different chord quality. Functionally, as we'll find out in future videos, we'll be concentrating on 1, 2, 5, sometimes 6, sometimes 3, and sometimes 4. But the ones to really get down are 2, 5, and 1, or 2 minor 7, 5, 7, and 1 major 7. In the next video, we'll start looking at how to use major key diatonic harmony and its functions.